Hello everyone and welcome to this new Appgyver tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to learn about the composite component, how to use it and how to use the properties and events inside it. Let's start by designing our component. I'll add a container. I'll rename it to user card component or user card container. This container will be our component. Let's add an image which will be the profile photo and another container for the other information. Let's start designing the component. I'll put the size for the image and change the border rounding from style. Let's make new style to be profile picture. Let's set a color for the border and make the border style solid. Change the shape to fully rounded. And what else? Let's override the style to save it. And let's select a picture just to preview our component. Now inside the information I'll add a title for each of the information I need to put inside the component. And I'll add a text for the headline for each of the information. So it will be the name, under it will be a preview name, and then the email address, also a preview email at domain.com, and lastly the position of the user. And the preview one. Let's change the layout and let's fix the distance between each of these components. It's better to give a name for each of these components and also to make styles to be reused again inside the component, inside our project. Okay, let's override this style and decrease the gap. Alright, now let's do the same, select the same style for the email address title and also for the position. For the name, I'll do the same, change the gap and the style. Let's make new style for the name. Okay. Change the size of the font. And let's go to the email address and design new style for the email address. Let's call the style email address. Okay. I'll make it to be decorated like the email, so I'll change the color and the size of the font to be smaller. What else? Let's make the font weight normal. And all right. And anything else? Let's make it underline and change the color of the line to the same of the color font. All right. Let's go to the position now and do the same. Change the gapping and change the font size. Okay. Now I want to change the style for the container to be like a card and save what we did till now. Now this is our user card. Now I will go to the variables and I'll add a list of objects which will be our virtual data source. So this will be the users. Inside this I'll have the name, the email address. Let's add new property. Let's go back to the object users and add new property, the email address, and last property for the position. And also one for the profile picture, not to forget this. I'll change the email to the type email address. Okay. And the picture to image URL. Sorry, I forgot to change this. I'll do it email address and the picture. Oh, it seems I selected the position. Sorry, the text, position to text, and the profile picture to image URL. So this is a list of objects. I'll add values to it just to test what we are going to do. So I'll add some users inside this list. Alright, now I added some users. I'll go back to the view and I'll do the following now. I'll go to the properties of the container and click on convert to composite component. Now we have our composite component, and let's start changing the overall container of this composite component, because when we changed to composite component, it make the overall container to be the component itself. Now I will add a new container to put all the other components inside it and change the style to primary card. Also, I'll make the corners to be large rounding. Okay. I'll go now to the properties. Inside the properties on the left, I will add a property for each of the values I have in the front end of the component. So I'll add name, email, and position. We'll have three things to add: the key, the property key or title, and the property title, which will be displayed in the main page of the project, and also the value type. So here I added the title of the position. I should add the property key to be position. The property key should be without any spaces, but in the title you can add spaces as you want. And I'll change the value type for each of these properties to match what we have in the component we designed before. For the picture, I'll have the title profile picture and the value type to be image URL. Alright, let's go back. This is our component. Now we have the properties for this component displayed here. Each property we add, we will see it here in the main page of the project when selecting the component. Let's save now and continue. Now I want to bind the data source we have made, which is the users. I'll repeat this component with each of the list objects I have. Now I'll bound each of the properties of the objects with the corresponding component property. Have the position, not the email, profile picture, let's save. And let's go back to the composite component by clicking on this icon. Now, what else I have? I should bound inside the properties each of these properties to the corresponding component property outside the component. So, for example, the title content will be the name of the user will be bound to the title1 component. It's better to change the names of the components inside our component to match its what you are going to put inside it. So this is the name, this is the email, and the last one will be the position. So when you are designing your component, you will do three things. You will add the properties, and then you will set the keys and values for the property, and then you will bound each of these properties with the corresponding property of the component inside your composite component. So the full name will be bound to the name content. The position will be bound to position content. The profile picture will be bound to the profile picture source, and the email address will be bound to the content of the email address. Let's save and see our component. It seems I have something wrong here. The current email should be the position. Let's correct this. Okay, let's save. Now you have in the tab called By Me, you will see the component, and this is a reusable component. You can use it in any page of your project. Let's save our project and test it on the mobile phone. Let's open the application. That's it. You will see the component now is ready to use, and it's repeated with each of the objects in the list. Now we will do another thing inside our component. I will go to the composite component design, and I'll add here an icon in which I can delete the user, which I don't want, from the list. So let's add the icon, change the position, and let's change the style to be remove. let's select this one, and I'll change the color to be red, and that's it, I think. Yeah. Okay, now when clicking on this X, I want this component to be deleted. But when clicking on this component, the composite component will be, Appgyver will see that this is a component, a complete component. So we cannot click inside it on the X or on the name or the address. So what to do is to go back to the composite component design, and when the user will click this close or remove button, it will trigger an event. So I'll use trigger event. You can see here that I cannot remove or change any page variable or application variable from inside the composite component. That's why I want to trigger an event to outside the component when clicking this X. So I'll add an event. Before triggering the event, I'll add a new event which will be delete user. Let's go back to view. When clicking on this X, an event will be triggered, and this event will be the delete user. Okay, so clicking on this X will trigger the event delete user. Let's go back, and now from this component I will receive the event which is delete user. I use the receive event flow function and then select the delete user event, and when clicking on or when this delete user event is triggered, I will remove the selected item from the list using the remove item at formula. So the remove items at will take two parameters. The first one will be the list, and the second one will be the position of the item inside the list. So I'll use the repeated info current index. So let's make some functionality here. I'll add a confirm message before deleting the user, and the confirm message will be, are you sure you want to delete this? User, save, and that's it. Let's test our project now. So clicking on this will show the message and then remove the user from the list. So clicking on the X will trigger the event delete user, and then we will receive this event from outside the component. I hope this was helpful, and see you again in next tutorials.